The 1997-98 season had already proved an historic and memorable one for Grimsby Town Football Club. Their first ever visit to Wembley Stadium had seen the team lift the Auto windscreen shield, and now there was the opportunity for further success on the hallowed turf, this time in the second division playoff final. The Mariners had secured their place in that final thanks to a 2-1 aggregate semi-final victory over big spending Fulham, with Kevin Donovan the man to get the all-important decisive goal in front of an electric atmosphere inside Blundell Park. So the Mariners were back at Wembley Stadium just 5 weeks after their first taste of the big occasion. This time, however, the stakes were that much higher. One game to decide whether it would be Grimsby Town or Northampton Town who would earn their place in the First Division. It wasn't a game for the faint-hearted, but it was 90 minutes, or 96 to be exact, when the Mariners completed the most amazing season in their 120-year history. Paul and Simon Dixon are going to be at Wembley to cheer the lads on. Have you got a lot of staff going down to the Twin Towers?
On Sunday we could practically shut the place down completely. Everybody wants to be there, and I'm absolutely certain Paul and Simon will be there after the last game.
The Mariners to come out on top?
Absolutely.
Are you rolling?
We can't get to it, can we?
So can I ask you how long you've been here this morning?
Since 7:30.
7:30. Did you go to Wembley last time the Mariners were there?
Yes, I did.
What did you think?
Brilliant, fantastic day.
Yeah. How many tickets are you hoping to purchase today?
Just two.
Just two for yourself and a mate?
Son, yeah.
Right, and he's looking forward to it?
Oh, yeah. Fantastic, yeah.
Any prediction on the score?
2-0, Town, yeah.
But you're feeling confident?
Yeah, real confident, yeah.
Okay, Peter, well, what's the mood inside the camp at the moment, looking ahead to Sunday's big game?
Well, I think we just want to get down there, get settled in at the hotel and get on with the game. Really. Everybody's worked hard all week, so it's just down to getting the game started now.
Yeah. Is it a whole new different ball game from your last visit to Wembley with what's at stake this time round?
I think so. I think there's a lot more at stake, and you know, if this is a bigger game, so we've just got to put the last experience behind us and look forward again.
A lot of people don't like the playoff situation. Are you a fan of the playoffs yourself?
No, I mean it should be either 3 straight up and 3 down, or that. Well, that's my opinion anyway. I'm not a great fan of it.
What sort of game can you expect from Northampton, bearing in mind your 2 meetings so far this season?
I think it'll be a bit like the Bournemouth game, very physical, competitive game, and it's going to be a hard game, tough game.
And you're looking for the fans to get behind you once again?
Definitely, that was a major contribution to the last success at Wembley, so hopefully the same again, and we'll get another victory.
Well, Paul, this is your 5th visit to the Wembley Stadium. Does it still get more special for you each time you go?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, with it being so late in my career as well, you make the most of each time it comes on, and like I say, I've been lucky to go there 5 times.
Yeah. And what is the contrast between losing and winning? Because you have experienced both.
Major it is. That doesn't even want to enter my head as such, because it's so devastating to lose, and to lose after playing so many games in the league, and to go there and lose is just not worth thinking about.
The Auto windscreen shield victory was obviously a historic occasion, a wonderful day out for players and fans and everyone connected with the club, but this one means so much more, doesn't it?
It does. It means so much more to the players, because at the beginning of each season, you know, you set off to get yourself promoted, whatever division you're in, and you know, we've got a good chance now to, you know, we're 90 minutes, if you like, away from doing that. So you know, it's a massive game for us.
A lot of people outside of the club might not have given you the best of chances of overcoming Fulham in the semi-finals, but you proved them wrong there.
Well, I mean, there were two tough games, and we've come out, I think, with a bit of credit as well, with the kind of football that we played and under a lot of pressure. And I think we've shown that throughout the season. I think people wrote us off early on in the season, and the bookies weren't backing us neither. So I think we've proved quite a few people wrong.
Kevin, this is your third appearance at Wembley Stadium, third time lucky?
Hopefully, that would be nice. Nice for everyone concerned with the club and all the fans as well, especially for those travelling down, if we can actually get a good result.
Can you explain that feeling of being a player walking out that tunnel?
Difficult really, especially when you've got like 60, 70,000 fans there. All it is just one massive noise. As soon as they see you coming out there, the adrenaline starts to pump and the music starts to play, so it does fire you up.
Have the players recharged the batteries sufficiently after that two-legged semi-final with Fulham?
I think so, yeah. I think we definitely needed a break after that Fulham game. We've had the break now, we've relaxed, and then we've been professional, and then we've had to relax. So I think we've gone about it the right way.
With all the hype surrounding a game at Wembley, any game at Wembley, is it easy to concentrate on the 90 minutes itself?
I think as players that is quite easy. I think obviously the club and everybody else concerned, there's a lot of sort of media pressure and things like that, but the players don't really seem to get bothered by that.
In a way it's a contrast of styles, the two sides, Grimsby Town passing and movement as we know Alan Buckley's style, and then Northampton, shall we say, a more direct approach.
That's right, yeah, strong side as well, physical side, but very well organised sides. As you say, it's two completely different sort of ways of playing. Hopefully on the day our way of football will sort of see us through.
But everyone's feeling confident about getting a good result and achieving that promotion.
You've got to be confident. If you don't go in there with any confidence, we don't stand a chance. I think everybody is on top of the game as well, the last two games that we've played as well, so it's looking good.
And how long have you ladies been queuing here this morning?
Since 10 to 8.
How many tickets are you hoping to buy for the big game?
8.
And did you go to watch the Mariners last time they were at Wembley?
Oh yes, we did, yeah.
What did you think of that?
Absolutely fantastic, absolutely.
And do you have a memory from this season? It's been such a good season for Grimsby, isn't it?
It has, it's been very, very good, actually.
It's got to be Wembley, hasn't it? I mean, it's the atmosphere. That was the town. That was the town.
Well, in just a couple of days to go to the big game, what are your preparations with the players going to be from now on?
Very similar to what they were a few weeks ago playing at Wembley. We'll sort of travel on the Friday and keep the players pretty well occupied up until the game. Make sure they don't lie around too much and get bored. Get together, get the spirit right, get their hands amongst each other. The spirit at the club's fantastic anyway. I don't think they need me to tell them how important Sunday is. I don't want any of our players to freeze and let the occasion pass them by. I would want them to really go out and express themselves and show what good players they are.
With all the hype that always surrounds a game at Wembley, how hard is it as a manager to keep the players' minds focused on the all-important game?
It's not important to it's not a problem with our players, Tim. They've been very focused all season. This has been one hell of a season from it kicking off in August. It's been fantastic. We've been, without probably being the best team every month in the division, we've arguably been the most successful team over the last 6 months. If you look at the results and that. The efforts of the players have been magnificent, and all they've got to do is give it one more last go and give everything. And the rewards next season are playing at places like your Wolverhampton Wanderers and your Bramall Lanes are there for them to enjoy.
How much did the semi-final victory, it was a hard-fought victory over Fulham, how much did that take out of the players?
Very physical, very competitive. I felt we won through on merit. Yes, it was hard. Yes, they've put a lot into it, but they've had a good few days rest since that. And I don't think tiredness is a factor that will come into it. Certainly not until towards the end on Sunday. It's an occasion for them to really savour and really go out and show what good players they can be.
What sort of a challenge are you expecting from Northampton Town?
Physical one. They're very, very forceful. Physically big as a team, very well disciplined, good at set pieces. We've got to make sure that we're up to compete against all that, and hopefully our football might win us the day.
When you returned to the club back in June, July time, can you have envisaged that you were going to have such a season like this?
No, but I mean, in '88 when I first joined the club anyway, there was no target set. Tim, you know, we try and work to the best of our ability and be as successful as we can be without setting targets. But this season has been one hell of a season. You know, the club's sort of never been to Wembley before, and we went there 5 weeks ago, and we're going again. And I think that's been lost on a lot of people. We're doing what only the likes of Manchester United and your Arsenals and your Liverpools do, play at Wembley twice in one season. And also I think with the earlier cup runs, you know, the FA Cup and the Coca-Cola Cup and the big games we've had in that, it's been a fantastic season. It'll take some equaling, Tim, for anybody.
And now the real target of this season, promotion back to Division 1, all hinges on one game.
Well, that's your target then, isn't it? I didn't set promotion as being a target, Tim. I said that we'd do the best we possibly can. If other people want to set targets, that's their problem. Quietly, our ambitions would be, without talking about it, yes, is to try and get promotion. And what we've got now is a one-off game and maybe we can reap the benefit from the other 46 games to get as far as we've got now. And it's important it doesn't pass us by.
And there's some people here at the back of the queue. You expected a long wait, sir?
No, I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
But you think it's going to be worth the wait?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably.
Anyone here got a prediction for the score at Wembley?
I have no idea.
2-0 over here, and you want to stick your neck out and go for the scorers as well?
Donovan and Burnett.
And anybody got any favourable moments from this season?
Burnley, I think, away at Burnley. I think that was the best game I've seen this season, most exciting game. And I think he deservedly got goal of the season for that cracking shot. Yeah. Really good.
And you, sir?
No, I don't go to football matches. I'm only here collecting tickets for somebody else.
All right, you're doing favour for the day, right. And what about you, madam? Any memorable moments this season?
I don't normally watch football, but this time I'm going down to Wembley because my son's treating me.
Right. So you've got the Wembley bug?
Yes.
Right. Did you go to Wembley last time, mate?
Certainly did. Cracking game. Go and win again. Unbeaten, mate. This is it. Got it sorted.
So feeling very confident here at the back of the queue then?
he walks up that tunnel.
Yeah, I think this is the one moment as a manager that you really look forward to and you really enjoy, leading your team out. There were not that many managers able to do that, and to get that, have that occasion for you in your career, then this is something that I think they can say that then all the hard work starts, isn't it? You know, all the pressure then of the game, just hoping you win.
Fantastic moment. Ian Atkins and his son Jamie, who's actually leading the Northampton side out. He did that 12 months ago. He didn't want to do it again today, but his dad said, "You've got to, you're a lucky charm." Which is fair enough.
Yeah, that's right. It's all superstitions, isn't it? You get loads of those in the game, and whilst you don't want to do things, then something that you just have to do, and if he's taking the little lad, that's brilliant.
This is better than the Auto Grimsby Shield.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Like we said, both teams have played 46 games in the league, and in retrospect, it means nothing now. That's gone. No matter how won, lost, drawn, goals conceded, goals for, it's all out the window now. This is a cup final with a bigger thing at stake, because next season there's another cup final and another cup final. But for these two teams, you know, it's the one chance at this moment in time that they've got to better themselves. And every player in any league he plays wants to better himself. If it's local park football, if it's Vauxhall Conference, you want to be a professional player. Of course, we're in the second division, and the Northampton Town lads, they want to become first division footballers.
The form of both sides was poor in the last few weeks of the season, but again, John, that doesn't matter at all now, does it?
No, it doesn't. Nothing matters at all apart from this game. As Tommy said, everything that's gone before is now down to one match, and as we saw on Friday night, it can rest on a decision, it can rest on a bit of luck, it can rest on an injury. Your best player suddenly has a great day today, or someone strikes a shot from 20 yards and it flies in. That's the rest of the season. It's been going over the top. It's just on one game, and the whole sort of careers of people sometimes rest on this kind of thing.
Let's hope it isn't a controversial decision this afternoon that decides this match.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I witnessed both legs of the semi-final in our playoffs, and I felt the referee had an amazing bit part to play in the Fulham game. First of all, he sent off one of the Fulham players, and then he awarded what I felt was a very dubious penalty. And then again in Grimsby, another one of the Fulham lads was sent off, so they could feel a little bit harshly done to, having to play the semi-final with 10 men.
The chief guest today, by the way, is Alistair Dales, who is the Executive Director for Nationwide. And he's being accompanied by David Sheepshanks, the Chairman of the Football League. Ray Warburton, the Northampton captain, doing the introductions. Lots of right handshakes, but really the players just can't wait to get on with it.
Ray's a really strong player, I had him at York City. I actually gave him a free and he went down to Northampton. We wondered if his career would actually carry on. He had a bit of a back problem up there, but for him to come into Wembley and be playing in there and sort of taking his team out, it's fantastic for him.
And he popped in with a crucial goal, of course, in the playoffs, his first of the season. Paul Groves is the Grimsby skipper. Never short of a
I mean, like I said, I can't praise Groves enough. He's not the shouting ball and roll your sleeve up type guy. He's quiet. He goes down the dressing room having a chat, and he's a talker, but not a shouting ball. I like myself. But you know, the boys will just be itching to get away from all this pomp and what have you. Now they want me kicking the ball around, settling their nerves, and get the game underway.
Well, they haven't got long to wait now. By my reckoning, 5 minutes till kick-off, and then all the doubts and all the apprehension can be put to one side, and there'll just be 90 minutes between either Grimsby and Northampton and the First Division, or possibly 120 minutes, and just possibly a penalty shootout as well.
Let's hope it doesn't go to penalties, because I mean, it's the whole season been about football, and to decide your future on a penalty shootout would, I think, be a travesty of justice. So let's hope it gets sorted out in the 90 minutes.
Well, Paul Groves has appeared in 2 playoff finals before, and both of those did go to penalty shootouts. He lost one, he won the other. He certainly won't want to go through that again. The final handshake is conducted. Everyone is in position, and it's time now for the national anthem. For the national anthem. was a rousing rendition. Final word from Tommy and John. Who's going to win? John?
I'm going for Northampton.
What's your look then?
First I'm going for Grimsby Town.
Okay, more from you both at half time. Let's now join our match commentators, Alan Brazil and Rob.
Wembley then getting to be a habit for Grimsby and Northampton. Northampton's second visit in a year, for Grimsby their second in 5 weeks, and their prompt return to Wembley gives Jack Lester the perfect opportunity to work out his frustration at missing the last slice of glory. 22-year-old Lester was suspended for an unnecessary fifth booking collected against Wrexham in the Auto Windscreen Shield final, but his return at the expense of Darrell Clare is the only change to the side that emerged victorious against Bournemouth. It includes Wayne Burnett, who got Grimsby's golden goal winner that day, and Kevin Donovan, Lee Nogan and Paul Groves, who've all previously scored here in playoff finals.
Yeah, big game. 4-4-2 for Grimsby this afternoon. Aidan Davidson, what a season he's had. 3 clean sheets out of 62 games. In goal. From right to left, McDermott, the fullback, the 2 centre-halves of Peter Handyside, Scotland under-21 international, Mark Lever alongside him, and Tony Gallimore, left fullback. Across the midfield, Dave Smith flying up and down the left-hand side. Paul Groves, good leader out there, hard-working midfield player. Alongside him, Wayne Burnett, good passer of the ball, loves to get on the ball. He's a playmaker for Grimsby Town. And just outside him, the right-hand side, Kevin Donovan scored 2 goals against Northampton already this season in league matches. He is vital for this afternoon, vital player. Up front, the youngster Jack Lester, and alongside him, ex-Welsh international, very experienced, Lee Nogan.
A year on from the John Frayne free kick that leaded them into this division, Northampton returned with 7 participants that day still in the fold. Some have moved on, others like the influential duo of Roy Hunter and Sean Parrish are injured, but the side has been bolstered by the experience of Northern Ireland international Colin Hill, the midfield drive of James Hunt from Notts County, the attacking flair of Chris Prieston from Middlesbrough, and the presence of Carl Heggs, part of the Swansea side that Northampton defeated here last term.
Yeah, wing-back formation for Northampton Town. Ian Atkins, I think maybe rather unfairly quoted about the long ball merchants, but what a glory year. Back last year winning the playoff, back again. Wing-backs, Ian Clarkson right-hand side, John Frayne left-hand side, last-minute goal last year. Samson, Hill and Ray Warburton attacking the ball, the 3 centre-halves. In midfield, Dean Peer, hard-working midfield player, James Hunt, alongside him Carl Heggs. I think this fella got a lot of skill. If he can get the ball to the feet of Carl Heggs, he can produce for the likes of Gale and Freestone. Freestone will actually just play off Big John Gale today, especially the first 20 minutes, but Freestone has to be watched. Quicksilver, whereas Gale, he's a target man.
Well, footballers are notoriously superstitious, and Northampton come here using the same dressing room with their fans at the same end as they were last year, and the one stroke of luck that they couldn't have banked on, the same referee, Terry Heilbron, who awarded the twice taken free kick that eventually led Northampton to victory in that final against Swansea. On both occasions the kick was taken by John Frayne. The second one went in. It was virtually the last kick of the game, and it sent the Northampton fans into obvious raptures. Wayne Burnett's golden goal for Grimsby was the very last kick of the match in the final of the Auto Windscreen Shield 5 weeks ago against Bournemouth. No golden goal in the playoff final. The full 30 minutes of extra time would be played if needed, and then if the game still wasn't settled in that time, it would go to a penalty shootout. The penalties have never been required to separate sides in this division's final. A massive crowd here. It's expected to be the biggest crowd for the playoff final in this division. The previous best just short of 60,000 when John Ward's Bristol Rovers lost here to Huddersfield 3 years ago. But Northampton fans back for their second visit in a year. Not so many Grimsby fans. The fact that it's their second visit here in such a short period of time has clearly taken its toll. But Alan Buckley will hope that despite the fact his supporters are roughly outnumbered 2-1, they can inspire the team to a similar success, even though this is a very different sort of game and a different sort of occasion to the one that they enjoyed against Bournemouth.
Without a doubt, it was great scenes at the end of that match, but Alan Buckley will be under no illusions. This is the big one. he'll understand Northampton are a hard side to break down. And I think Northampton early on play this so tight, Rob. I think they're going to tuck the wing backs in and really try and stifle the midfield two of Groves and especially Wayne Burnett. You stop them having the ball, they can't get it wide to the danger man Donovan. And Ian Atkins, he's a studier. He'd have watched so many Grimsby tapes. He understands that down the right hand side Donovan is a real handful and Smith down the left hand side.
Well, it is a great occasion, but whereas Grimsby's last visit here was more of a day out, and in the end it didn't really matter whether you won or lost, it means quite a lot more today. And both sets of supporters recognise that. And they've built up a very fervent atmosphere, as there always tends to be for these occasions. Nothing to choose between them in previous league games. Grimsby have won one, Northampton the other, both when they were at home. But today is an occasion for the players to be fearless and focused on the prospect of First Division football next season. A massive incentive then for Grimsby and Northampton. The playoff zone in the second division tighter than in any of the others. 2 points separated all 4 teams who took part in the playoffs. Grimsby finished a point ahead of Northampton in the final table. But it's Northampton who get this match underway. Dean Pear and Chris Freestone over the ball. Terry Hilborn going through the final checks. And the 1998 second division playoff final at Wembley is underway. And here is Ian Clarkson, one of the survivors from Northampton's victory last year. Northampton do have this uncompromising style, and they are expected to really go for it in the opening exchanges. Here's Gallimore, a man who's become a father this week, looking for a double celebration. His other half gave birth to a baby boy. And Andy Woodman, who produced a splendid save in the early stages of last season's match from Carl Heggs, who this season is a teammate of his. He's looking for Freestone with a kick, headed away by Groves, but this is Clarkson. Looking for Pear with a cross. In comes Frame. And Heggs here will put pressure on Gallimore. And it's gone behind for the goal kick. And Grimsby's goalkeeper, Aidan Davison, really does have a remarkable record this season. He's played in 62 matches and kept clean sheets in 30 of them.
Great atmosphere here, Rob, isn't it?
Over Nogan's head, won by Hill, back to Groves, this is Lee Nogan. McDermott. This is Donovan. And somehow it managed to get under the boot of Warburton, but Colin Hill was there behind to tidy up.
Yeah, it's going to be a good battle. John Frayne on the left and Kevin Donovan. Donovan can go outside, whips him in, or can come inside on his left foot.
Lever. Leicester. Now Donovan. Burnett. McDermott. This is Paul Groves. Grimsby getting a very hostile reception to their early possession from this massive Northampton support. Jack Lester. McDermott trying to get the early ball in, but it's cut out by Warburton. This is John Gale. Heggs. Cleared by Handyside. Burnett. Freestone here will give chase against Peter Handyside, who is looking for the back pass.
Right away you can tell Handyside's very aware of Chris Freestone's pace. Had a good look to see who his goalkeeper was, but he knew the presence of Freestone and he'd be worried about this fella's pace.
Frame came off the head of Dean Pear, who's one of the four former Birmingham players in the lineup. He, Clarkson, Gale and Frame had all previously won the Leyland Daft Trophy here with Birmingham. Ian Atkins, of course, another ex-St Andrews man, coached there, and we remembered them from those days.
No doubt when the ball's wide in the left, whether it be Higgs or Frame, watch for Pear, try get on the far post.
Higgs has been converted by Northampton this season from an orthodox striking role to a position wide on the left.
Like Higgs when he's on the ball, Rob, he's a few tricks, good ability, will try and find the pace of Freestone, a nice through ball. Whereas John Gale, he's the outlet ball. If Northampton are under pressure, they'll knock it up to Big Gailey and expect him to hold it up and wait for support.
Gale, who was actually substituted during last year's playoff final. Jason White, who's since left for Rotherham, came on to take his place. This is Colin Hill to take the free kick. One of 7 free transfer signings in this Northampton lineup. Sampson's header, there's Burnett. Won by Freestone from Donovan. Number 6 is James Hunt. Laid back towards Dean Pear. And although it broke for him, he couldn't get it to Clarkson because Gallimore was there for Grimsby. Frame. Not getting too much on the header. Leicester in there just unsettling them. This is Smith. Tony Gallimore. Leicester. Smith. Logan on his own in the box. And they've run the first corner of the game in the 6th minute.
Yes, no fella, Dave Smith will always try and go on his left-hand side. Just trying to get the byline, get the ball across. A good even start to this match.
Smith's cross, Groves just trying to reach it. This is Burnett. And cleared by Frame. 1 or 2 signs of edginess there. Burnett's shot was actually deflected by his own player Jack Lester, and Frame not prepared to let it go back to Woodland clear. Burnett. Grimsby here feel that they have Northampton rattled. McDermott. Burnett this time playing it in, and Groves with the shot.
Yeah, not bad from Burnett there. Good understanding. Groves was the man who got in just on the edge of the box. But all started with good play from Burnett. Just whipped it in, try to find his central midfield partner. Groves gets the strike away, but that's not going to trouble Woodman. High and wide. A good spell for Grimsby, especially down this right-hand side with McDermott and Burnett linking well.
Donovan. Here's Leicester. Good play from him, teasing Frame. And he's won it back from Sampson.
Well, he's only a youngster, Jack Lester, but already in this match, 7 minutes gone, he's seen plenty of the ball, backing into centre half, holding up well, this time getting wide. Selling playing a little dummy here, but it's a good challenge from Warburton coming over. And referee Telly Hebron feeling it was a handball there, the right hand striking the ball.
Jack Lester, who was so disappointed at missing out on the Auto Windscreen Shield final through suspension that he didn't even travel with the team. Lever. It's Hunt. Hicks. Burnett, the playmaker, has given it away to Freestone. Clarkson. Picking out John Gale. Freestone!
Big chance, Rob, big chance. Freestone on his right foot. It just didn't fall for him. And John Gale made a lovely run through the middle, picked out beautifully by Hunt. Just doesn't take it quite correct on the chest. Grimsby have got centre-half back there, and Freestone snatches at it with the right foot. Gale causes a problem with his presence. Grimsby scrambling back, and Freestone, I feel, could have done a little bit better.
Freestone there benefiting from the work of his strike partner John Gale. And when Grimsby conceded the opening goal here in their final of 5 weeks ago, it was the presence of big Steve Fletcher of Bournemouth that unsettled them. Work from Heggs, cut out by McDermott.
Yeah, it's a good front three, I think. Heggs wide in the left. McDermott's going to have to keep an eye on him. He's full of tricks. But the presence, the target man Gale, and the pace of Freestone can cause Grimsby big problems.
Crane having to do a retrieval job after that ball from Chris Freestone.
Well, is he dreaming of last season? That last minute gaffed left foot strike. Can he do it again?
Well, he's scored 2 goals since, as John Frayne, and one of them was another free kick. McDermott.
I think the game is going to plan. I think Grimsby like to knock it about, Rob, down on the deck, whereas Northampton are robust. Every challenge, they're firing in there, then get it forward.
Northampton seeking their second successive promotion via the playoffs. Only Notts County have done it before, and they did it at the start of this decade, and they did it with 8 of their players from the previous year. Northampton starting with 7 who played last season.
This is what I worry about Grimsby, Rob. Set pieces.
Sampson in there, so too is Dean Pear, and Freestone here looking to get in behind Gallimore. But Aidan Davison is also worried about Northampton's set pieces. He's been making that patently clear this week.
Yeah, I think Lever and Handyside have got a big job in their hands. Aerial battles. When Northampton send the big boys in there alongside Gale, it's important they don't give silly free kicks anywhere around the box.
Leicester. Donovan. Gallimore. Smith. There's Nogan. Free kick given against Ian Sampson for the challenge on Nogan.
I think it was a fair decision as well. I think Nogan was just spinning Sampson there.
Donovan, who's scored in both of the league fixtures against Northampton this season. He's looking for a free kick, but Terry Hilgron waves play on. Sampson, Clarkson. It's Handyside. Hill. Gallimore. Mark Lever.
I think Ian's quite happy that he's Northampton side. When Grimsby have it, okay, just let's get behind the ball in numbers, let them knock it about, as long as it's not around their 18-yard box.
McDermott there was trying to clear Colin Hill, but Hill, a very experienced player.
Tell you what, Robbie just reached it as well, didn't he? There's good movement up front for Grimsby. I do like Nogan and the youngster Leicester. They're moving, good crossover runs.
The old collision there. John Gale offers his apologies.
Well, I'm not sure Wayne Burnett's accepting them either. And Terry Hilgron's not too happy. I think he lands on him pretty hard. Up he goes. You can see there's an elbow there. Right arm, the old forearm smash in the back of Burnett's head. And I'm afraid you can't get away with that. It amazes me when they can't believe it, you know. You must be joking, ref. You know, it was blatant, was it? forearm smash to the back of the head.
Well, Burnett might be shaken, but not too stirred. Grimsby had a bit of a scare coming into this game when after the second leg of their playoff semi-final, John McDermott collapsed at the training ground with the effects of delayed concussion.
Oh, but Wayne Barrett, who was just on the receiving end there, he had the flu. The last time he was here, the auto windscreen, and scored the winner, so...
Gale again charging in, this time on Gallimore.
Yeah, Gale's fired up, isn't he? Remember last year's playoff when he was having a go at maybe Christian Edwards in the tunnel, and then was a bit disappointing during the game. Edwards, I thought, played him extremely well. He's certainly fired up this afternoon.
Former Wimbledon player, and in many ways, if Northampton do continue their progress from last season, you wonder if they could start to be the second Wimbledon and go all the way to the Premiership. What they've achieved so far has been done on very limited resources and playing to the strengths of those available.
It's going to be a good battle there, the two number 6s, I think. Burnett for Grimsby and Hunt for Northampton.
Here's Handyside. Gallimore. Cleared by Warburton.
I always think, Rob, playoff finals, first goal is so important.
Logan. Here's Smith. Donovan's in the box.
Good defensive play there from Warburton. Read it, the cutback was coming. Good positional sense.
Handyside. Is he going to line up one? He has! Well, he's only ever scored one goal in his career, but he thought it was worth a pot shot.
Well, honestly, I just felt that Handyside said, watch the time he's got here. Peer goes to him, then he's looking for Hunt to come and close. They don't close. Handy says, right, I'll let fly. That's not too far over. Big centre half coming forward. Can't believe his luck. Let's go with the right foot, and just a whisper over the crossbar.
Well, the only goal that he scored was in a defeat at Tranmere in August of last season. Yet to get off the mark in this campaign.
Very well rated, Handyside. Had his fair share of injuries. A few caps, Scotland under 21. Looks as if he's back on song.
Hill. Here's Heggs.
Yeah, Heggs he's a sort of drifter for Northampton. He's the one who can go try down the left hand side, now over on the right flank. These are the free kicks I was talking about, Rob. Unnecessary free kicks, and suddenly Northampton, the cobbler, send in the big boys. The Higgs was going nowhere here, and suddenly a dangerous ball in the box.
And Frame's free kick winner here last season was direct. At this time, they'll be looking for a direct target. Gale is in there, so too is Higgs, so too is Sampson. Warburton has come forward from the back as well. Taken by Frame.
Good goalkeeping on the 6-yard line. Aidan Davison, okay, we're in trouble, I'll get us out of it. A little bit close to the keeper from Frame, but good goalie, coming in amongst bodies.
Burnett. There's McDermott. And it's slipped through here, chance for Donovan! One-on-one with the goalkeeper, and he's done it! For the third time this season, Kevin Donovan scores against Northampton, but not on a stage previously as big as this. Woodman is beaten, and Grimsby draw first blood.
Well, how does Donovan get in here? Look how he drifts in. Takes his time, bit of experience, and slots it in past Andy Woodman. What a start for Grimsby. Just comes in off the right wing, suddenly finds himself inside left position, and tucks away with the right foot. A shell-shocked Northampton defence. Woodman on the ground, scrambling, can do nothing. And the favourites go one up. Good experience from Don
Alan Buckley was the spectator here when Kevin Donovan scored for West Brom in the 3-0 playoff victory over Port Vale. He later went on to manage him at West Brom, took him with him from the Hawthorns to Blundell Park, and what a wise decision that looks now. He's their top scorer this season, that's his 21st, but has it given them the key to the door of the First Division?
Well, I think he just took up a fantastic position, no one was picking him up. Samson and Hill were over that side, they couldn't believe it, suddenly Donovan gets clean through on goal. That's what we wanted, Rob, an early goal. Now Northampton have to come out.
Nogan. And Northampton, who came into this game intending to ruffle a few feathers, have had their own ruffled now by Kevin Donovan.
I think the ball might have initially been Axis saying, come on, we've got to watch our runners. The ball, I think, initially was meant for the youngster Leicester, but when it fell in behind them, didn't Donovan seize a chance?
Here's Leicester, Bennett up to his right. I was just thinking back to this divisional final a year ago when it was Crewe against Brentford, and Sean Smith scored for the third time against Brentford in that season, and that goal was enough to win at Wembley.
Yes, fantastic start for Grimsby. Look at this, incredible. Grimsby with the possession, you know, like to play the ball to feet, whereas Northampton maybe a little bit direct.
Slipped on by Freestone. Can Heggs get in here? Cleared by Handyside, and Gallimore thought he prevented the corner, and he has. Pear. Clarkson's attempted cross.
I think there's been good movement up front for Grimsby, I really do. I think Nogan and the little fella Leicester, good intercrossing. Northampton have to pass on. If you can't go with a runner, pass on. And how Donovan sneaked in there, I'll never know. It's the first time he's really ventured away from the right flank. Now Northampton look to Freestone. Come on, give us your pace and movement.
Freestone the target. Clarkson. Cleared by Gallimore, only to Clarkson though. Plenty of players in the box for him. He can't clear Wayne Burnett. This is Pear. Releasing Freestone.
Yeah, another set piece that Grimsby have to defend against. Pear's been seeing a lot of the ball, picking up loose passes. You give Freestone a lot to do there, but again the corner, once again Frayne with the left foot with pace on it. We'll put it in this Grimsby box. Oh, is that obstruction or what, referee?
Level on corners, but can they cancel out the opening goal from Donovan with Frayne's corner kick? Davison has prepared himself well for the onslaught.
Well, I don't think Ian Atkins will be too happy with that corner. You know, when you're putting people on the line and the near post, and then he just clutches it easily, the goalkeeper.
And straight from the clearance, Leicester's through!
Clear tugging there, there's no doubt about it. Leicester, maybe young, tugging away, no doubt in my mind at James Hurt's shot. Hunt was getting back there in command, but Leicester was putting him under pressure with his pace. But the youngster couldn't get there. Watch this, look, pull, and a clear free kick. The referee telling he'll run right up with play, automatically pointing. Not a bad ref, this guy. Rob keeps telling me off for pronouncing his surname wrong.
But it is here, Braun. Hill looking here for Freestone. Handyside with a header away. Freestone. Looking for Dale in the box. Dale climbs over Lever.
Higgs has got to get alongside. When the ball's right hand side, Higgs must get close to this fella. If he gets a little nod down or a touch, Carl Higgs can get on the end of it. Higgs.
McDermott. Header clear by Hill. Sampson steered it neatly away from Smith. This is Clarkson. Freeston looking for the free kick and getting it.
Yeah, I thought Gallimore was a wee bit unlucky there. It was a sort of short ball in the feet of Freeston. I think he was entitled to go for that ball. Maybe again just from behind. Once again another free kick, Rob.
And this time it's Clarkson overseeing it. Warburton up for it. Andyside trying to clear. Back in from Hunt. That was Heggs. Freeston going for the spectacular.
Ian Atkins is certainly working hard at these free kicks. Look at Warburton, Sampson and Gale. They were all at the far post and then they split. And Grimsby are going to have to deal with this all afternoon. Freestone trying the spectacular, but that doesn't worry Davison.
Here's Leicester. Blocked initially by Warburton, and Northampton had enough men back.
And Leicester's looked lively up there. He's obviously disappointed, Rob, to miss out on the auto windscreen, but he's electric this afternoon.
Heggs.
I think that's what he called playing for a foul. Heggs has got a bit of skill down the left hand side, but McDermott and plenty Grimsby players doubling up on this fella. Look, just gets a touch on up, he's going nowhere.
Here's Crane. And the next clearance goes behind for the corner.
And there's pressure from set pieces. And once again, look at the players, Northampton players heading for the goal line. Pear's in there, Big John Gale's in there. It really is a nightmare for Aidan Davison.
Heggs is also there inside the 6-yard box just to add to the confusion. Warburton the target, got it down. Freestone looking to turn.
Well, what they're doing is, Rob, as you're right, they're packing the goal line, and Warburton and Sampson, they're the two players who split at the far post. Once again, the captain wins the ball, but there's a couple of Grimsby players. In fact, there's no doubt about it, Freestone had another half chance there.
That's his third attempt. Tried to repeat Dennis Stewart's famous overhead kick goal here in the League Cup final earlier.
Just lost his footing at the vital moment there.
Here's Jack Lester. McDermott. Grimsby have done well to withstand the pressure that they faced since going a goal up through Kevin Donovan. But there'll be no let-up from a very spirited Northampton side. They concentrate a lot in their preparation on positive thinking. And ever since they reached this playoff final, their dressing room walls at the Sixfield Stadium have been plastered with the grounds of First Division clubs. And dummy newspaper headlines celebrating a Wembley victory here to try and get the players in the right sort of positive frame of mind. Pear.
Since Grimsby have got this opener, Rob, they're really sitting back now. I'm not sure that's a wise ploy. Northampton growing in confidence now.
Ian Atkins, a deep thinker about the game.
I don't know why they're shouting. No one can understand them with that deep Brummie accent. The players look at him shaking their heads. I'd be disappointed with the start, but he'd be much more happier now. I think his midfield are now beginning to get on top.
Here's Gale. And the free kick given against him. Gale already shown the yellow card, remember.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. I don't know if there was a bit of handball there. He's such a big fella, isn't he? Just sticks out his arm there, but then I don't know. Lever goes to the ground. Referee says free kick. Maybe a little bit unlucky.
Terry Hilbron said before the game that his intention was to let it flow, and he's doing that wherever possible.
Yeah, so Grimsby fans, you can hear now, outnumber 2-1 easily, but noisy enough. This is the area I think Grimsby are going to lose it, Rob. Central midfield.
Clarkson looking to release Freestone, and hesitation behind Handyside, who really had to do his job there because Davison had come off his line.
Yeah, I just feel if Freestone had somehow wriggled clear and got an early one, and watch the goalkeeper coming here. Handyside's back there waiting for a call, and if somehow Freestone could have hooked it in, there was Northampton players in the box, Gale and Higgs.
And again, Freestone goes into that packed compartment in the 6-yard box. Hunt, Warburton, Sampson all waiting at the edge of the area. It's curled in though, and again it's easy pickings for the goalkeeper.
Davison just seems to be able to pick his spot, and John Frayne has really got to use the ball better. He's got his two big centre halves at the far post, or if he's going to put it near post, it's got to be away from the goalkeeper.
Well, Warburton has gone down after an injury in the centre circle. Great ball from Burnett. Precision for Donovan. Combining with Leicester, or attempting to.
Yeah, the touch wasn't there, but every time this fella Kevin Donovan gets on the ball, he is such a threat. Lovely, comes inside, just runs at the two centre halves. But how did he find himself in this position here? The ball's aimed at Leicester, he lets it run, and suddenly Donovan on it in a flash. The goalkeeper decides the right way, but Donovan's experience, he doesn't rush this. He takes his time, he throws a dummy, and really Andy Woodman stays on his feet as long as possible, and that's the opener.
Well, Kevin Donovan scored for West Brom against Port Vale. They were actually making a return to Wembley, having won the equivalent of what is now the Auto Windscreen Shield. And if Donovan's goal from his one attempt is enough to secure the victory for Grimsby, they'll be the first team to win that trophy and then return and win the playoff final in the same season. Frayne's kick. There's presence again on something Grimsby as Hunt. This is Heggs. He's managed to win it from McDermott, but the cross goes to Groves. Freestone in quickly though. That's Donovan. Challenge late by Frayne.
Yeah, Donovan quickly to his feet though, saying, alright ref, alright, I know it was late. I think John Frayne, well I was going to say, might escape with just a bit of a rollicking from the ref, but unlucky. There's no doubt it was late. Donovan's on his feet, back on the halfway line, no problem, but it's the lunge and the late challenge merits a yellow card.
Warburton, Heggs.
The problem that Heggs has got here, McDermott's very close to him, McDermott's pacey, and he has to beat him with skill rather than pace. McDermott's quite happy leaving the ball to Heggs as long as he's got his back towards the Grimsby goal, no problems. When he's facing up, using his tricks, could trouble McDermott.
Burnett. Here's Groves. And it's struck him and come to Smith. Second bite at the cherry perhaps for Smith. Gallimore.
That was a wasted opportunity, Rob, wasn't it? Smith had all the time in the world there to put the ball in the box.
side. McDermott. On the side, McDermott, Lever and Leicester have all come through Grimsby's youth scheme. McDermott and Lever established regulars now. Were at the club in Alan Buckley's first spell when they went on to 2 promotions. Here's Nogan, hooking it back towards Groves.
There's a good shout from Groves there. Just alarming, the 3 centre-halves ball watching for Northampton. Again, good movement up front with Leicester and Nogan. It's alright having 3 against 2, but you must pass on, you must talk.
Won by Gale from Gallimore. Freestone. And this is Hex. Northampton being urged on with just over 10 minutes of the first half to go.
Randy says having a good match for Grimsby.
Hunt. This is Gray. Cross from Hex in towards John Gale.
Gale beaten Lever there, but couldn't direct it down to one of his players.
Hunt going down right on the edge of the box.
Well, obstruction I think is a shout here, and this is danger for Grimsby. Just a yard inside the box. It's just locked. Gale again's presence there. Hunt goes in, certainly impeded by Lever, and this could just be John Frayne with his left peg. It's a perfect angle for a left footer.
Frayne has to be the favourite for a strike here, or Hunt there to touch it to him.
Will he place it, Rob, or is it power? I fancy power.
Will he go straight to the target and hope for a deflection en route?
Look at the pushing going on in that wall. Freestone's getting pushed, but no doubt you can't back in.
Surely it's going to be lined up for John Frayne. It is, and it's cleared by the wall. I was just thinking with all the pushing going on though that when he scored from a free kick last year it had to be retaken because of encroachment, and there was plenty of movement in that wall.
And Sampson to his left, you know, I just wonder if they're going to play at the big centre half.
Warburton goes for Clarkson's throw. Played back in by Clarkson. Freestone looking to get in. Here, driven back across, the outstretched boot of Warburton just couldn't make contact.
Once again the ball in the danger area, but McDermott made a great challenge there for Grimsby, a little full-back. Just lobbed in. Look at McDermott in amongst the bodies there, getting his head to the ball. Eventually coming out, the big fella on the left foot, trying to strike him well wide. Good pressure for Northampton, but Grimsby are defending well, especially this little fella McDermott.
Well, the playoff weekend reaches its climax tomorrow at 2 o'clock on Sky Sports 2 with the First Division playoff final and a place in the Premiership at stake for either Charlton or Sunderland. Make sure you're with us from 2.
Lever having a good battle again there with Gale. Northampton fans felt maybe a free kick, but this fella's happy, isn't he, Donovan? Three goals, I should say, in 3 games against Northampton.
One goal has been enough to win the playoff finals the last 4 times that they've taken place, including Friday's victory for Colchester over Torquay. Is Donovan's goal going to be enough for Grimsby?
Good play from Andy sides again. Good football in centre half, this fella.
Here's Donovan. Northampton squeezing up looking for the offside, which was why Leicester was forced to come so deep.
And Grimsby are playing this spot on, Rob, defending well, getting back in numbers, but going forward they are so dangerous.
Burnett. Donovan. Heggs. Foul by Donovan.
There's a little bit. I think Terry Hubron's right there. No yellow card for me. But Heggs is a little bit slow getting his legs going, getting away from people. There's no doubt the challenge from behind, and Donovan catches him. But I'd like to see him move with the ball quicker.
Here. Preston managed to stay onside.
Good header again though from Lever. Lever knows he's got to battle Big John Gale, and he's doing really well.
Groves. Here's Heggs. Crane. And decides clearance only going to Hunt. And that's cleared by Smith.
Very, very tight in that central area, all right through down the central channel. Northampton coming back into it, I think, with possession-wise. But Grimsby still with the upper hand, and obviously that Donovan goal.
The recurring theme in the build-up to this match was the clash in styles, and at the moment Grimsby coping admirably with Northampton's style. So far Northampton been the danger that we might have expected them to be from their set pieces.
I think Lever and Handyside have defended tremendously well, plus some of the balls in, especially from Frayne, have gone straight into Aidan Davison's hands. Northampton fans way behind Andy Woodman's goal there in the distance. A bit quiet at the moment.
Here's Nogan, who once scored the opening goal in a playoff final and yet still finished on the losing side with Reading to Bolton. This is Donovan. Leicester. Donovan's made another good run forward, although it has been trapped by Frayne. McDermott. Lever.
Yeah, they're keeping the ball well out of Grimsby. And Donovan, the movement up front, Rob, I'm talking about. Donovan, you know, he's got good movement. Look, one comes short and then threads it into the second striker. That's good play for me. There's two strikers against three centre-halves, and yet they're still getting the ball to feet.
Long clearance from Warburton. And again, Preston handled comfortably by Peter Handyside. Here's Heggs. Northampton perhaps sensing an equaliser before half-time.
Yeah, a little bit too high. Again, Davison comes out. Heggs quickly on the right foot getting in, but good goalkeeping once again.
A little bit of confusion there between Sampson and Woodman.
Well, I don't know what Sampson's thinking about there, because the ball bounces high. All he's got to do is just nod it back to his goalkeeper. Just there, but he lets it run, and all of a sudden he's in danger. Leicester on it in a flash.
Grimsby's 68th match of the season. A season that's been full of adventures for them, including cup defeats at Ellen Road and Anfield, but some pretty distinguished scalps along the way. They knocked Sheffield Wednesday and Leicester out of the Coca-Cola Cup and Norwich out of the FA Cup, but this is the most important game of them all. You're leading through Kevin Donovan's goal.
Definitely right, Rob. You know, apart from the good footballing side, they are gritty, determined. After the auto windscreen, they went right up to Carlisle and won an important league game. So it's a nice blend, nice mixture that Alan Buckley's side have.
Gallimore. His handy side. Downs by Paul Groves. Heggs for Northampton. Well, Alan Buckley was soured by his experience at West Brom, where he was dismissed after just 18 months in charge, but will he be leading Grimsby to the Hawthorns next season in the First Division?
Yeah, that'll seem like 10 years ago now. He likes Wembley, Alan Buckley.
Leicester. And it's come off Colin Hill for the corner.
I think Ian Atkins will be disappointed with his three centre-halves, Rob. They've had too much freedom, the likes of Leicester and Nogan. You know, they're making quality runs and they're getting the ball to feet, but really the three centre-halves have to make their minds up. Two mark, one sweep, get closer.
Used to be 2 minutes of stoppage time in this first half, and Kevin Donovan to take the corner. Here's McDermott. Groves up with the header.
He keeps sneaking in there, doesn't he, Groves? He's a holding player, gets through a lot of work in the central midfield, but when it's wide, Paul Groves gets in there. Ball to the far post, McDermott, and can't direct it down to one of his players.
Paul Groves, whose first Wembley appearance here was with Burton Albion back in the 1987 FA Trophy final, and the Northampton goalkeeper, Andy Woodman, was actually a ball boy here that day. Brain. There's Groves looking for Smith.
I think they might look for a little bit more from Dave Smith second half. He has got pace, good left foot. I haven't seen too much of him. He's done well though getting back defensively, but when he's had a chance to get the ball in quickly on the left foot, let him down a little bit.
It's the Grimsby anthem of Sing When We're Fishing that's ringing around Wembley at the moment. The big catch is within their grasp. Sampson's throw. And at half-time, it's Grimsby who have the advantage thanks to the goal in the 18th minute from Kevin Donovan. Slackness at the back from Northampton, who didn't deal with a through ball from Burnett that was intended for Leicester. Donovan nipped into the space and took it round the goalkeeper, and Alan Buckley had just cause to celebrate his team taking a very useful lead. They've managed to withstand the Northampton pressure since. Most of the possession has been with Grimsby anyway, and at half-time at Wembley, it's Grimsby 1, Northampton Town 0.
In the next 45 minutes, let's rejoin Alan Brazil and Rob Hawthorne.
And if he does need to change it round, then Ian Atkins has players on the bench who are quite capable of doing that. Jason Dizelle, who's got 6 goals this season. David Seal, who's got 14, including 1 against Grimsby. And Grimsby themselves know the power that the manager has in terms of substitutions, because it was a change of their own that brought a change in fortunes when they were here 5 weeks ago, when Kingsley Black came on. 20 minutes later scored the equaliser, and then Wayne Burnett of course got the golden goal in extra time. Grimsby in the second half kicking towards the end where they got that goal, but Northampton now kicking towards the end where John Throne's free kick settled the playoff final a year ago. And away goes Heggs against Peter Handyside, who really has dealt with him and the rest of the Northampton attack in a very composed fashion.
I think you're right as well, Rob. If Northampton don't improve, I think there'll be a couple of quick subs.
Clarkson looking to get it into Higgs. Gallimore is there. This is Hunt. Higgs. Clarkson, three waiting in the box. And that threw himself in the way, and it's Groves who's completed the clearance.
Well, that's the little bit extra quality in Acton's talking about. Final balls in the box. Find one of your own players. Not leaving it short so that the first defender easily clears.
Grimsby have clearly done a lot of their preparatory work on counteracting Northampton's set plays, and so far it's been working.
Yeah, I think Lever and Handyside have been superb for them. They know they're in for a battle. Alan Buckley says, look, if we stand up to them, match their enthusiasm, commitment, then our class should tell in the end.
Handyside just hesitated there against Gale, and Lever had to come in and help him out. Gallimore. In slides Ray Warburton. This is Sampson.
Now you're going to be looking for a good start. First 10 minutes of the second half, come on, let's put them under pressure. Whereas Alan Buckley will be saying, right, we defend well, keep the ball. When we have the ball, keep possession. And our two front men with their running and the movement will cause them more problems. Touch and finish. Not this time.
Well, Kevin Donovan scored in the second leg of the semi-final to secure Grimsby's Wembley place, and now he's scored on this big stage to give them the lead. But if Northampton need inspiration, then I'm sure they could look to their semi-finals. They had a 2-goal deficit to overturn there against Bristol Rovers, and Ian Atkins was thoroughly impressed with the manner in which they did it, hammering home 3 goals to overturn that deficit.
I think John Gale's goal away from home gave them that was the hope they needed. Without that, I think they were dead and buried. But they'll go right to the final whistle, Northampton. Big, strong, fit side.
And can they now recapture some of that semi-final spirit? Slice clearance from Sampson. That's Warburton. Smith. Burnett hits it against Higgs. That's Lever. Higgs. Hunt, who showed good anticipation to win the possession back initially. Now Frey. Can he launch another one? He's played the 1-2 with Freestone and didn't get enough behind the shot.
Yeah, superb. Couldn't get enough behind the shot. Freestone showed for him. Frey just a little wall pass, but good possession from Northampton. Good run, intelligent ball back. Can't get enough on the strike. Good start to the second half for Northampton.
What a fairy tale that would have been if John Frey had managed to score there. That was actually Northampton's first attempt on target.
The guys at half-time in the studio were saying, Rob, that when you're getting the ball in the box, it just needs to fall kindly, and suddenly 1-1.
Away goes Higgs, driving at McDermott. Cleared only to Frey. This is a good start to the second half from a team wounded by that 1-goal deficit. Hunt here, battling his way through.
He's unlucky, Rob, isn't he? He's unlucky. Sheer grit and determination. There's no doubt, I think Handyside should have done better. Football on centre half, but he should have been a little bit braver there. Hunt gets a chance on the right foot, and that is a good opportunity. You've really got to hit the target here. Handyside should have done better. Gets a good touch, and the finish is woeful. And Ian Atkins thinks, come on, we've got to take these half chances, boys.
But he will at least be encouraged by the start that his team has made, and certainly the crowd are getting behind them now. It looks as though Grimsby might have to resist quite an onslaught. He's telling them to get forward.
Yeah, he's pleased with the start, Rob, no doubt about that.
The 11 who nearly started the game, doing their chances of staying on there without the need for substitutions. The power of good.
It raises the fans as well. Suddenly the decibel level's gone up from the fans away to the right.
But can Grimsby subdue them once more as they did with that first half goal from Donovan? Handyside. That was Hunt. Here. Ian Clarkson. Freeston just beaten to it by Gallimore.
So that's the difference between the two sides there. Freeston's a judge to Phil Gallimore. But Freeston, with all his pace, hasn't found space in behind the centre half. To be fair to him, the service has not had enough quality, whereas the Grimsby service to their front player has given the two strikers great opportunities. The movement's certainly been better from the two Grimsby, Leicester and Nogan. And what a following Northampton have brought here, over 40,000, screaming the heads off to try and get the Cobblers back in the match.
Well, there look to be hands there from Leicester to control it. Clarkson, cleared by Sampson. Lever. Gallimore. Lee Nogan. Donovan, the goal scorer. Then wider frame, now taking on James Hunt. And can he provide here? Knocked away by Clarkson for the corner.
Good play from Donovan. Once again a threat. And suddenly Grimsby push Northampton back.
Well, we haven't seen the sort of quality we might have expected from Northampton in their set pieces. Leader here is going forward for this Grimsby corner. Beyond him and Handyside towards Groves, but Warburton was aware of the threat that he provided. Gallimore, still four Grimsby players in the box, and Lever is among them. Woodland punches, and this is Hunt.
That was a good punch from the goalkeeper, but the service from Gallimore was a decent ball into the box. That's been the difference. Yeah, we've not seen a lot of this fella, have we? Straight in an offside position. Chris Freestrom, maybe Ian Atkins. I think they're changing it up there. And there's a great opportunity with Dazelle and Seal to try and unlock this determined Grimsby defence.
Nogan. Good work from him. Benitez turned up about 8 yards from goal if I can find him, but it's behind him. Held back into the net by Donovan. Donovan has now stayed in the centre. Just got a toe to it, but it came off the Grimsby man last.
Yeah, Burnett's had a good game, that central midfield, just trying to gain a corner there. Frame stuck to his task well, but he's a good player, this fella. Passes the ball well, started the match very well, and suddenly I thought Northampton were getting on top in the midfield. The Groves and Burnett's a good combination in there, the central midfield position for Grimsby Town.
Clarkson, flick on by Freeston. This is McDermott, Heggs just behind him. The flick from Nogan. Sampson crucially covering there against Leicester, who's been very lively. Good play from McDermott. And here's Nogan.
Great challenge from Warburton.
But it's fallen for Smith. David Smith.
Yeah, unfortunately, little Smithy on his wrong foot. Had no option to come inside on the right. Had it been on his left, I'm sure there'd been better power in the strike. Well, certainly lively enough now, Rob. End-to-end
doesn't pretty soon, then Ian Atkins might be making a personnel change.
Yeah, the combination up front, Rob's not working, is it? Freestone and Big Gale.
And it looks as though David Seal is going to get the call.
These two again, look, 10 yards apart. Great play from two strikers. So close to each other, working with each other. Hill. Frey.
Freestone trying to slip in between the two Grimsby defenders. Andy side clears. It's purposeful stuff from Northampton, and it's just making Ian Atkins delay the anticipated substitution. Hunt looking here for John Gale.
Good goalkeeping again. He's looked safe as house as Aidan Davison. No wonder 30 clean sheets in 62 games. Could it be 63?
Here's Leicester. He's against Hill.
Just trying to bend her there, Leicester, with the right foot, looking for that left-hand far post. Northampton are taking chances now. They're pushing people forward, and Grimsby looking to catch them in the counter.
Now Gale, and this time Heggs has gone into the box, but it's overhit for him.
Yeah, overhit, and that could seal his fate, I hate to say it.
Seal his fate. Is that an intended pun with David Seal about to come on?
I'm glad you picked it up, Rob. He doesn't waste time, Ian Atkins. It's a brave decision saying, right, come on, let's change him. He's worked hard. He's not really overpowered the two centre-halves of Grimsby for me. And he could easily take him Freestone off. I think Freestone's pace could still cause problems. That's why Gale's off.
Gale is one of the Birmingham players who followed Ian Atkins from St Andrews, but there can be no loyalty when hard decisions have to be made, and yet again he's been withdrawn at Wembley. But there is an injury problem here to Mark Lever, who's been struggling while that change was being made.
Well, I think they've been excellent. Handy side and Lever certainly stood up to the task. Just there, I think it was. I think Gale, to be honest, trod on him.
So Gale may be gone, but he's left his mark. And the throw-in aimed here towards Seal.
Once again, they've got in behind the Grimsby defence, but Seal just on, a little bit cold perhaps. Can't get direction on the intended lob across goal. Looking for Freestone. And hopelessly wide.
David Seal, sold by John Ward from Bristol City to Northampton. Club record signing at £90,000. It's been paid in instalments, 10,000 every 10 appearances.
Certainly Northampton have started well, haven't they? I'm sure. Alan Buckley back there must be thinking, come on, let's keep, let her get possession game going again. Passing the ball, we're giving it away too easy. Does he think they make a change?
Well, Northampton have had the better of it since the break. Now can the substitution change their fortunes? He's in here, Seal! And Davison, grateful that he'd come a long way for that.
First mistake from Lever. And Seal, like he's been in the action, he's only been on a minute. And Lever just takes his eye off the ball at a crucial time. Suddenly Seal in behind, but Davison again, quick off the line. Good stuff from the keeper. Coming to the rescue of his big centre-half. Brave, diving at the feet of David Seal and smothering it well.
And you're right, Alan, it is going to be a Grimsby change, and Steve Livingston is the player who is going to come on.
Yeah, he can play up front or at the back. There's a kid at Coventry when I was there, works hard at his game.
Lino is the player coming on. It was Livingston who's coming on, who actually gave away the penalty that Seal scored when the sides met in the league at the Sixfield Stadium back in February. Northampton won that by 2 goals to 1, but on that occasion Livingston was playing at the back and Peter Handyside was out.
Gives him a little bit of aggression as well up there, and obviously back there defending set pieces. Livingston will get back, get his head to the ball.
Seal lays it off to Heggs.
Good play again from Handyside. There's good pressure from Northampton. The Cobblers searching for the equaliser.
Clarkson gets his throwing back, in charges Smith. Smith was committed.
Wow, more pressure again defensively. And Grimsby have got to stick to the task. They've done it so well. For just over an hour, Livingston the sub back in there helping Lever and Handyside out, saying get there, look at his commanding.
Well, look at the queue, they really are packed in again. And a glancing header from Seal is looking for another strike. And every time that Northampton have packed them in there, Grimsby have marshalled their resources well, and Leicester here has set Donovan off on a break. Is it going to be another one-on-one with Woodman? Could it be two? What a saving challenge from Colin Hill. Hill's experience put to the test, and Donovan there met his match. Donovan's cross. Here's Groves.
What a chance for Grimsby. Donovan, Hill, superb defending, but he got the chance because Donovan's cut inside wasn't good enough. It's a great break. He has a look at Woodman, thinking of a chip there. He comes inside and the touch is not that great, and that's what gives Hill the opportunity to get back and sliding in. Just there, it hits his left leg, but good defending from Colin Hill, and that's kept the Cobblers back in this match.
Well, that left Northampton's spirits for a revival here.
It's also give Grimsby a lift now, Rob, under the cosh now, beginning to express himself with possession and pushing forward again.
Smith, given away by him to Sampson. Northampton break on here with Seal. Prieston offering support as it slipped in behind Handyside, but McDermott saying leave it to me.
Yeah, he's another one who's had a smashing game for Grimsby. McDermott, great full back play, covering his centre half, excellent.
12th year in the senior side for this man, John McDermott.
And when the danger's down the left hand side, he's tucked right round, playing almost alongside Handyside.
Hill just keeping a watchful eye on the presence of Jack Lester. Sampson. Freestyle. Obstruction by Gallimore on Seal, right on the edge of the box.
Seal's done well here. I think Gallimore's a little bit unlucky here. Just in the edge of the box. To be honest, he shakes his head. I think he's unlucky. I'd love to see it again because Seal reacts quick. But I think Gallimore was just holding his ground. Let's have a look. Just there. No one knew where the ball was. He'll be unlucky to get a yellow.
First time this afternoon that a Grimsby player has seen yellow. Tony Gallimore cautioned.
Can Northampton, can they deliver a perfect ball into this box? Frayne might try to strike on the left foot.
Plenty of options here for them, plenty of worrying for Davison to do. Frayne has moved away there from the situation with Clarkson, calls it in! Flying header right across the face.
I think it came off Lever again. I think Warburton gets in well here. But look at Lever stick to his task well. Not far away, another corner.
Sampson trying to apply his head to it, but Lever just getting the touch behind. Frayne's corner whipped in. Cleared by Handyside, but Frayne with another opportunity here. Cleared by Groves and then by Donovan. Can Grimsby here continue to hold out?
Tremendous pressure, isn't it? From Northampton, tremendous pressure. As you say, Grimsby battling away back there, aren't they? Flinging themselves.
Well, after all the problems when the club went into receivership 6 years ago, Northampton here, trailing by a goal. Livingston looking for a second. Oh, agonisingly wide.
Well, I thought he was going to burst the back of the net there, Livingston. I think he does this superb, and I thought, go on then, bang it away, and tries to lob the keeper. And I think that's a goal kick. I don't think Woodman got a touch on that. It just wouldn't come down for the volley to the far post. Tries to direct it, just dink it, and that's a goal kick.
The referee's decision is final though, and now another substitution from Grimsby. Kingsley Black, who came on to turn their last Wembley final by scoring the equalising goal, is coming on to take the place of David Smith. This is an unusual substitution from Grimsby, in that when they often make a change on the left, Smith reverts to left back and Gallimore goes off. But this time, Smith is sacrificed. Donovan's corner, and the referee saw some pushing there.
I tell you what, Rob, you just wonder. Donovan's had a real good chance. Livingston there had a glorious chance. Are they going to regret the misses and let Northampton back in this match? Because the clear cuts have certainly, the clear chances have gone to Grimsby.
Still a quarter of the game left for Northampton to bring about a revival in their fortunes here. Grimsby holding on to that first half lead established by Kevin Donovan's 21st goal of the season. Here's Heggs. McDermott just got his foot in. And the back passes, a real risky one. Freestone in here. And right across the face of goal with no one there to apply the touch. But Kevin Donovan, who scored Grimsby's goal, could very well have cancelled out that advantage.
Yeah, good goalkeeping again though, isn't it? Freestone's quick on it. He had to do it there with the left foot for me. Tries to feed it in the box for one of his fellow strikers. No one there. And Kevin Donovan, goodness me, heart in his mouth. And Freestone couldn't get away from the keeper far enough to tuck it home. What a chance. Ian Atkins can't believe it. It's not going to be our day.
Well, he looks heartbroken already, and even for a man who believes in positive thinking, he must be wondering now if his luck is going to turn.
Well, you can't fault his players for effort, can you? Really battering away at Grimsby now.
Handy side. Jack Lester. Black. Gallimore. This is Clarkson. Another substitution, and this time it's being made by Northampton, and on comes Ali Gibb. And he's taking the place of Colin Hill, who made that great challenge on Kevin Donovan that's given Northampton a continued chance of winning this game. But on comes Ali Gibb, who's been on the bench for the last 12 matches, former Norwich youth team player, was actually in their youth team with Keith O'Neill.
Yeah, he can be electric as well, Rob. And that's just what Northampton need.
Gibb was on the bench last year but didn't get on, so making his Wembley bow.
And sometimes you need a little bit of luck in there, put the opposition box, falls to the right people, and it just hasn't happened for Northampton this afternoon.
Cleared by Hunt. Here's Frey. Lever given away to Heggs.
That's the story of the match for me. Northampton, when they have had chances, final ball not good enough. Again, Heggs, who's got quality, can't deliver. Again, Aidan Davison says thank you very much. 6 yards out.
Here's Clarkson, who's moved into the 3 at the back since the withdrawal of Colin Hill, and Gibb has slotted into his old role on the right. The best chances for Northampton really have fallen to Chris Freestone.
Yeah, I can count 3 at least. Half chances though, Rob.
There's Livingston.
Grimsby, for me, are the quality of the two sides. Northampton's determination and grit have kept them in this match, but the clear-cut chances have gone to Grimsby.
Clarkson gives away the free kick.
I think Leicester there has been fouled. He's had a smashing match, the youngster up front.
Black. It's Clarkson. Clearance by Pear. Hand aside. This is Leicester, only Livingston at the moment in the box. Burnett has gone in there too though. And turned back in by Donovan. Livingston!
That's the difference, you see. Livingston makes a good position in the box and Donovan finds him.
Donovan trying to move from scorer to provider.
They could add to this is quality. Just dinks it in for the big fella. Livingston can't get enough direction on it. Still 1-0. Still time for Northampton to get back in it.
Grimsby going to rule these missed opportunities.
Well, referee had a good look at that one. I think there's a case of Grimsby holding on, Rob.
Well, Ian Atkins knows that his opponents have been a little less adventurous of late, and wants his team to really work hard at them. Just over a quarter of an hour left.
So this was an attracting game lever for Grimsby. He's been reading things well, he's been heading the ball well. With a tower of strength back there.
His testimonial season marked out by 2 appearances here at Wembley. Victory in the first. They're clinging on at the moment for a victory in the second. But Northampton's resolve never really in doubt. They're looking for Freestone here, cleared by Handyside. Hunt. Heggs. John Frayne. Pear hit himself in the face, cleared by Groves. There's Burnett.
Touch of quality from Burnett there, not just whiffing it. Just try to calm things down.
Wayne Burnett started this season in the First Division before being discarded by Huddersfield. Are he and his colleagues heading for a return to the First Division next season?
Well, sing me a fishing from the Grimsby fans again. They sense victory, Rob, and promotion.
It would be a prompt return. They were relegated at the end of last season, despite winning on the final day, and winning quite emphatically too. They made a very slow start to this season. Just won 1 of their opening 8 league matches. But they've come good when it mattered. And despite their heavy schedule of games, are they to win this, the most important game of their long and arduous season? McDermott. Lever.
this Grimsby defence up the other end.
Livingston, Burnett, in slides Warburton, who really is leading from the front at the moment. Warburton looking to release Seal here. Gallimore has to be careful.
Great determination for Warburton, but again the service up the front man, it's favouring the Grimsby defenders, not good enough.
Pushing and pulling going on between Leicester and Warburton, but the referee sees it of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, and Leicester's gone right through and he's tripped, and it's a penalty.
Well, I have to say this is great play from the youngster Jack Leicester. Superb play, good feet, takes his time, teases the defender into the challenge. Watch this. Just gets a little touch 2 or 3 times, down he goes. You can say maybe the big centre-half maybe is unlucky, I don't know, but quality from the youngster and patient.
Well, Kevin Donovan has scored from open play. Can he now score from the spot to finally kill off Northampton? It's saved by Woodman! Andy Woodman has turned it away, and Northampton still have hope here. Alan Buckley cannot believe it. Woodman has denied the penalty.
Well, maybe justice is done, I don't know. Great stop. Fantastic. Donovan surely that have sealed it. Woodman to the rescue. Chooses right, full stretch, and palms it away. Oh, Alan Buckley can't believe it. Incredible. Division 1, here we come, or maybe not.
Well, in the ensuing protests, James Hunt is having his name taken. But what a save from Woodman, and is that going to be the inspiration that Northampton need to revive themselves? In comes the corner, Livingston up for the header, and it's cleared away by Gibb. And Donovan's cross, Leicester tries to get there, and it's gone behind for another corner.
Wow, drama here at Wembley, incredible. 12 minutes remaining. Grimsby are not there yet.
Is that going to be the turning point? Donovan's corner this time. Up goes Groves. Here's McDermott. Donovan's cross. Cleared to Wayne Burnett. McDermott here under pressure. And this is Gallimore. Sanson. Groves. McDermott. Well, what incredible drama here. Kevin Donovan had a great opportunity to add to his tally. But he could not beat Woodman with a spot kick. And what a special moment that was for the Northampton goalkeeper, but can it be crowned with a comeback? He's urging his team forward.
The huge 40,000 following Northampton have brought here surely felt that was it, curtains. I think it was a 50-50 decision, you know. Freeman goes down again. Chris Freestone hasn't really gotten his game. Holmes a challenger there. And a couple of, 2 or 3 half chances, Chris Freestone. Can he still get his name on the sheet?
Crane here with a free kick. Sampson coming through the crowd. Good handling though from Davison.
I'll tell you, Rob, it must drive you, man. Ian Atkins must be driving mad here. The set pieces, the balls in the box, straight in the hands of Davison once again. Needs a bit of quality in there with the delivery.
Davison's handling has been very assured. Woodman, who could do nothing about Donovan's goal from open play, has also now tried to grab a bit of the limelight after his performance with that save from the spot kick. But Woodman actually is a former Crystal Palace player, and one of his best friends in his time at Selhurst Park was one Gareth Southgate. In fact, he was his best man. And here's Groves, and here's Donovan, and a slice clearance from Samson that's knocked behind by Ali Gibb for the corner.
Well, once again, though, great quality from Donovan. You know what I mean? He puts it right in that danger area. There's no wasted crosses here, and that could have gone anywhere.
Black with the corner. Levers in the thick of it. Burnett!
Burnett, that could have been glory yet again at Wembley for Wayne Burnett. Well wide with the right foot volley.
Can the glory of Andy Woodman be compounded? Ian Atkins here urging his team forward.
Well, inside the last 10 minutes, Robbie knows he's still in with a chance.
Well, Woodman's penalty save has come at the same end where Gareth Southgate, of course, missed his crucial kick at Euro 96.
I'm sure we'll thank you for that, Rob.
And he tips this one away, and Black is there looking for the follow-up. Paul Groves off the underside of the crossbar. A great chance to have set the seal on it, and Grimsby squandering opportunities.
Would you believe it? Incredible.
Burnett.
Rob, we talk about Northampton's strength and determination, but Grimsby are finishing the stronger. Incredible. He can't believe it, can he, Paul Groves? Just taking a chance, getting up there. Woodman palms it out. Just laid back nicely from 12 yards, a blockbuster. And off the underside of the crossbar. Woodman, this time, no chance with this. Groves all alone his own. Bang, right through. Surely that was the winner. And clear to safety. Bounces well out and away to safety.
And has that given Northampton renewed hope of pulling back an equaliser here? This is Gibb. Clarkson. Freestone. Clarkson again looking for movement in the box. Worrying times these for Grimsby. Seals cross is blocked by Lever. They were appealing for hands, but the corner's given.
Yeah, I think there were desperate shouts there. The ball hit Lever. Couldn't do anything about it. Are we in for last few minute drama here?
Well, Andy Woodman thought of coming forward to the penalty area. He got so far, was told to go back as Gibb now delivers this corner, and Davison has lost it, clashed with Warburton, both of them are down, and the referee having to stop it here, and just making sure that there's nothing too serious there with Aidan Davison. It was a nasty collision though.
Yeah, again it's a high ball with not a lot of pace on it, Rob, so the goalkeeper's a good chance, and it's a clash of heads. That's why the referee Terry Hilbron very quick to stop it. But look at the time he's got there to come, and a good look at this. In comes Warburton, bang, on the side of the goalkeeper's head. And Ray Warburton, the captain, he fell heavily too. Wow. Just gives us a chance to catch our breath here. Incredible last 10 minutes.
Well, at the other end, Andy Woodman, what a penalty save.
Wow, was it a penalty? Terry Hilbron felt so. I think the goalkeeper, I think, to be honest, Ray Warburton, who's on the ground now receiving treatment, I think was a little bit unlucky, but surely Alan Buckley felt that's it. Donovan for his second goal, steps up. What a good stop from the goalkeeper, Woodman. Incredible stuff.
Woodman was here as a spectator when Gareth Southgate missed that penalty at Euro 96, but Southgate, of course, couldn't return the compliment by watching his Wembley performance today as he's involved with England. At the other end, Aidan Davison all right again after being treated following that clash of heads. Warburton, the Northampton captain, is all right too.
Some people are not happy with playoffs, but I tell you what, I've enjoyed this one, especially in the last 10 minutes. Fantastic.
Real helter-skelter stuff, but is it to end happily for Northampton?
think when you look at it, Rob, the chances, the clear-cut chance, it's all been Grimsby's. Northampton have battered away, maybe not enough quality. Grimsby have hit the crossbar, missed the penalty. Perhaps they deserve to be ahead.
And the playoffs reach a crescendo with the First Division final tomorrow at 2 o'clock on Sky Sports 2. Charlton against Sunderland. Make sure you don't miss it. Here is Freestone. Exits fallen to clear.
Oh, could he have hit that?
And more by luck than judgment that Handyside got that one away. But here goes Peer again. Now Seal. Trying to get it through Handyside's legs. Gibb keeps it going here for Northampton, and Freestone waits and can't bring his header down.
Wow, he had a perfect view of the ball. It was laid up from Gibb, and really, once over the full-back, surely it's got to be a downward header. McDermott is the full-back under it, and really Freestone towers above him, but can't head it down. And Ian Atkin, he's trying to head it in, but gee, he'll never get in the area. Oh, it's heartbreaking for him. I feel for him.
Every miss twists like a knife for Ian Atkins at the moment, but he never doubts his team's resolve. They battled away right to the end of the playoff final last year, and it was virtually the last kick of the game that John Frame won it with, and Alan Buckley will be very aware of that. His team need to fully keep their concentration at the end of a long, hard season. And it's a record crowd for this division, beating by over 3,000 the previous record for the Huddersfield-Bristol Rovers match. Here's Heggs for Northampton, whipping it in towards Seal. Peer spotting Glory with a shot, and Davison helps it away. And it's gone for the corner.
Wow, couldn't take a chance, Davison, could he?
Looked as though it was going wide anyway, but he didn't want to take any chances. And Northampton throwing everybody in again.
And the delivery, find a Northampton player.
Gibbs corner, headed back across by Warburton, the goal was unguarded. And they couldn't find the target again.
Dean Peer, it's not going to be Northampton's day, is it? This time Davison comes unstuck, headed back, and Peer from 4 yards, all he's got to do is hit the target.
Wow, real breathtaking stuff.
Fantastic stuff.
Well, the Grimsby fans feel confident that their team are there. The First Division door is ajar, but still they're being given some really scary moments. Clarkson, Warburton, and Woodman tells his team now to get forward.
On both sides, you have to hand it to them. It's been smashing, total commitment.
And who's going to be your man of the match, Alan?
Well, it's got to be one or two of the two Grimsby centre-halves. I'd love to share the bottle of champagne. I think Handyside, the Scottish under-21, I can't give him it because I'll be accused of bias. Lever in his testimonial season gets a magnum of champagne.
Well, with that champagne, will he be celebrating a victory? Or are Northampton to turn things around? A lot now will depend on how much time Terry Heilbron adds on in terms of stoppages.
Fishermen from Grimsby, they're celebrating away to our left. Not too many have made the long journey down. I'm sure they're enjoying it at home in the pubs and clubs and the homes on Humberside.
And there's the confirmation that Grimsby are still 6 minutes away from bouncing back into the First Division. That's how much stoppage time is to be added on, so still a long, long way to go.
Well, I'm sure Ian Atkins has just looked to the heavens, thank you God. Now Alan Buckley must be thinking, what is going on here? 6 minutes.
Buckley must be rewinding the match in his mind, trying to remember all the instances that have led to such a hefty load of overtime. Foul on Hunt.
Grimsby are going to celebrate shortly. Northampton, wow. Can they pull out the fire?
So that's what happened to the Chippendales. Clarkson's free kick. In danger here as they all left it to the goalkeeper. Freestone wasn't very far away.
Great play again from the young. So what a game he's had up there, Leicester.
Livingston though couldn't profit from his good work.
There's two centre-halves from he's gone berserk, Ian. I shouldn't laugh because he is desperate to get it forward. Alan Buckley saying, assistant linesman, where'd you find 6 minutes from? You've got to be joking.
Well, it is a great place to gain promotion when you win, but it's such anguish if you lose here after such a long and extended season. Northampton still haven't given up hope. This is Gibb.
Once again, half chance to get it in. Even if you just get it off a defender out for a corner. You can't afford to waste the ball, waste possession at this late stage.
Well, this is the time where everyone in the crowd wants control of the referee's watch. The Grimsby fans are urging Terry Hilbrand to blow the final whistle. But from what's been indicated, still over 3 minutes of time left. Frayne here retrieves it for the throw. Crosses towards Freestone. Handy side, solid as ever.
Yeah, he's in a smashing game.
And Leicester here is going to bear down on Samson, and it just carries.
Well, I said one in the box now. Take a chance and get off the front players.
Clarkson's looking for Seal. Heggs ready and waiting for the layoff, but McDermott just as aware.
Yeah, he's been steady as well, hasn't he, McDermott? Back there, right-hand side for them.
Samson. This is Frey. Well, this stoppage time is going to be the longest 6 minutes of Alan Buckley's life. Seal. Peer. Didn't look for the glory himself, opts for a more patient approach. Good with the cross. Seal is in there, and Davison punches only to Frey. Cleared by Lever. Grimsby relieved to get it anywhere outside their 18-yard area.
Yeah, well, Davison's done brilliant for him. Every time the ball's in that box, that goalkeeper's come.
Clarkson to give him another test. And he gets there eventually.
It's going to be 64. Was it 64th game? And 31 clean sheets for this fella. Fabulous.
And Aidan Davison, who was actually part of the Bradford team last season that ensured Grimsby were relegated, has more than atoned for that today, if Grimsby hold on. Still another 2 minutes for Alan Buckley to live through.
Good manager, not me.
Well, they're great for the fans, they're great for keeping the interest in the league going, but this is a terrible place to lose. The incentive of playing in the First Division, so great for both sets of players and fans. And if Northampton were to equalise, you'd fancy that the wind was in their sails for extra time. Clarkson. Give it away to Black. Here's Samson. Looking for Seal again in the box, but
McDermott again, superb defending. Look at this, look at the heartbreak on these fans' faces.
Not quite heartbreak yet though. They remember the last kick of the game that won it for them last year. They're looking for Heggs with the cross. That time Davison didn't get there. Groves was there though.
I tell you what, you can't say this keeper doesn't make his mind up early, does he?
Half a minute of the allotted stoppage time left. Heggs is outnumbered. Anywhere will do for McDermott, but not there. It's straight to Frayne. Warburton trying to cause consternation. Freestone goes in, and Davison tips it behind.
Yeah, referee Telly Abraham feeling there was too much pressure on Aidan Davison here, but once again, Rob, the ball in the box coming down with snow on it.
And Grimsby have bounced back into the first division at the first attempt. Relegated last season. The contrast with this season is stark. The first half goal from Kevin Donovan was enough, and in the end Donovan's second half penalty miss and the shot from Paul Groves that came back off the underside of the bar don't matter, because Grimsby are back. They had to withstand an agonising second half, plus 6 minutes of stoppage time, but Northampton are being sporting in defeat. Congratulations for Donovan, who scored in West Brom's previous playoff victory here, and has done so again now for Grimsby. But David Seal, who only had the second half to try and change things around, played his part. He had an immediate effect. But it's the fans from the town of Grimsby who are celebrating, and Aidan Davison, whose assured handling ensures that Grimsby return to Division 1. Alan Buckley, who took over for his second spell in charge at Blundell Park in the summer, and after their relegation while he was away, it really does seem a marriage made in heaven. And John Cockrell is assistant manager out there, adding his congratulations to the players. Cockrell scored a couple the last time that Grimsby were promoted. Young Chris Freestone, the commiserations for them. They showed great battling qualities, but in the end they were outwitted by the purest footballing side of the men from Blundell Park.
Without a doubt, it was heartbreaking stuff if you're a Northampton fan. But Donovan's goal, a bit of quality, gets through, reads it well, composure, lets the goalkeeper go to ground and tucks it away with the right foot. Alan Buckley, absolutely ecstatic, jumps on the bench. Woodman in despair as Donovan celebrates. And so do the fans who made the long journey down. Nail-biting stuff towards the end, goodness me. Alan Buckley, lovely man. What a 6 weeks Grimsby have had. It's taken so long to get here, and twice victorious. The youngster there, Freestone, he's devastated.
Well, for one of these teams who'd been here in the recent past, there was always going to be the replacement of the sweet taste of victory with the bitter taste of defeat. But Grimsby had waited 120 years to make their first appearance at Wembley, and rather like the buses, you wait all that time for one to come and then two come along together. And it's 2 victories in a 5-week period of time for Grimsby on English football's biggest stage.
I think they had that little bit extra quality, Grimsby, especially first half. It was always going to be difficult when they got the lead for Northampton. Northampton battered away, but the 2 centre-halves, in my opinion, were fantastic. Lever and Handyside were absolutely fantastic. Stood up to the physical battle, the challenge, and now the celebrations begin.
Well, so many players don't get the opportunity to make this journey up the much vaunted steps, but Paul Groves here is doing it for the 3rd time. He did it with Blackpool in the playoffs after they won on a penalty shootout. He did it with Grimsby 5 weeks ago in the Auto Windscreen Shield final, and now he's going up the steps again, leading his team, his Grimsby side up there, to take the acclaim after their victory in the 2nd Division playoff final. Alan Buckley watches, a very proud man, as Paul Groves, who he brought back with him from West Brom, collects the trophy. It's Grimsby's year at Wembley. And the trophy is passed along the line to the heroes: John McDermott, the long servant; Kevin Donovan, the goal scorer; Jack Lester, who's more than made up for the disappointment of missing out on the previous Wembley trip; Steve Livingston, who's played his part in both as a substitute; Lee Nogan, David Smith, who was taken off; Mark Lever, who will have more reason than most to remember a testimonial season with the club; Tony Gallimore, and Peter Handyside, who, like his central defensive colleague Lever, was so outstanding. Kingsley Black, who scored a goal in the previous visit; Wayne Burnett, who got the golden goal then; and right along the line, these Grimsby players are all heroes tonight.
Yeah, fabulous scenes, isn't it? I thought it was thoroughly a smashing game. Second half was so exciting. And what a season Davison's had. Came for everything, maybe a little bit fortune once or twice. That's what it's all about, taking your chance. And Grimsby's football has won them the day in the end.
Had a little bit of good fortune right at the end, but in the end Davison has managed to keep that 31st clean sheet of the season in 63 games, which is an incredible record by any standards. But for the winners there is always the disappointment of the losers to consider too, and for Chris Greastow it's a particularly emotional experience.
Well, there's no doubt, Rob, it's a terrible place to lose. But when you get your nose in front, you hang on, you hear that whistle, it took its time coming, you have every time, you go for it.
They call it's every player's dream to play at Wembley, and you've done it twice, and what's more, you're the captain as well, and you've got to go up those steps first.
Good feeling, and it's what you set out to achieve at the beginning of the season. We had two things to realistically go for, and that was the autoglass and to get promoted, and that's what we've done. Great achievement.
But surely at the start of the season that could only have been maybe an unrealistic target, having got relegated just 12 months ago.
Yeah, having been relegated and have to bring in so many players in a short space of time, then realistically, it was a lot to ask. But the players performed tremendously over the season. It's not just the 14 that play, it's there's a whole squad of players there that have played throughout the season, and they're just as important as the other players.
Just concentrating on the promotion, was there a particular game or stage of the season where you thought, yeah, we're really on for this now?
I think, for me personally, I think there was a game against Watford at home. We hadn't been playing particularly well up to then, and whether it be a discussion before the game or during that week, I think it was, about the way we was playing, about the things that we wanted to do, and although we lost the game, I thought we made big strides in that game, and for me that was a turning point where we started to play well, and once you start to get the performance right, then you start to get the results afterwards.
Before the game, a lot was made of Northampton and the set pieces and the danger that might come from that, but really you were the saviour on that part.
Well, we worked on it all week. I mean, we knew what the threats were, and obviously they're a physical team, and that's what they look to do, put the balls into the box from free kicks, corners. So it was down to myself and the two centre-halves really to come and deal with that sort of thing.
Did it begin to worry you, the amount of set plays they were getting in and around the box?
I think so, yeah, to be perfectly honest, because it's only a matter of time before they deliver the right ball, with the right quality, and then they get a flick onto it, and that's basically a goal. They're dangerous in them situations, yeah.
But there weren't too many clear-cut chances, I think. In fact, the statistics point to the fact they only got one shot on target.
That's right. I mean, I don't think I dived all game for a shot, really. Maybe only the back pass, which was, we create our own problems, but other than that it was just crosses, which, came in abundance, but luckily they had a bit of height and we sort of come and claim them.
Were the players aware of the amount of injury time that the referee decided to add on?
Well, I wasn't, and neither were the back four, because I was talking to them as the game was going on, and they had no idea there was 6 minutes of injury time. I don't know where I got that one from.
But you must have been delighted that there was a slight bombardment during the second half, but you kept that clean sheet.
Absolutely, I mean, it's a great way to finish the season on a clean sheet. I mean, it's fairy tale stuff. The second time at Wembley, obviously there's more at stake, so I didn't enjoy the moment as much because there was a lot more pressure on it, but to finish on a clean sheet from a defensive point of view, can't beat it.
Now, you've seen service with 4 or 5 other clubs before you came to Grimsby, but is this your best season ever?
I'd say collectively, I'd say it was my best season. I've got little memories from other clubs I've been at through the season, but overall, then this is going to be the best memory so far.
Well, Kevin, I've got to ask you about the goal that finally clinched promotion. Talk us through it.
I think, to be honest, somebody was saying it was a foul. I think Jack Lester took somebody out of the game, but we're not complaining about that. And luckily for me, I don't know how I ended up there, to be honest. I ended up on the left-hand side, and the ball for me just came to me right in front of the keeper. And I've been in that position before when I was at West Brom, when we played there in the final before, and I thought I had a little flash through, but I missed the one when I played for West Brom. But luckily for me, I went around the keeper and this one went in.
I mean, the goalkeeper did quite well because he stayed on his feet as long as he could, really.
Yeah, as I said, I've said to quite a few people, I tried to sit the keeper down, but he's a good keeper and he just kept standing there, and he's a big keeper as well, so I just tried to move it to one side, and looking for me, he sort of went down and gave me the opportunity to score.
Of course, it didn't matter in the end, but I've got to ask you about the penalty. How did you see that?
To be honest, I was alright, I felt alright, I didn't feel nervous. Steve Livingston said just pick your spot and stick to it. I did, and I saved it, but as you say, now it doesn't matter, we can sort of forget that.
But did you feel at the time, I know, that might cost us?
Yeah, of course, it goes straight through your mind, especially for about 10-15 seconds afterwards when you're like running away and you think, well, what have you done, sort of thing, but as I say, it turned out okay.
And then just after that, the skipper crashed one against the crossbar as well?
That's right, yeah. I fancied Paul to score actually, because it was like the West Brom thing that had David Smith scored the first goal down at Fulham, and I was lucky enough to get the second. I thought it was going to be Paul Groves' day, but I think, to be honest, he struck it too well. For the miss kick, it would probably gone in.
A great chance to have set the seal on it. Jack, it was a special occasion for everybody, but it must have been more so for you having missed out the first time round.
I don't know about more so. I think everyone enjoyed it as much as last time from what they made out because of the importance of the game. But yeah, it was a marvellous occasion, best experience I've had in football up to now.
And what was your first taste of walking out of the Wembley tunnel like?
The first time I walked out with the suit on, and obviously the ground was just milling around people, I thought this is nice. And then when I walked out down the tunnel and all the fireworks and the ground was full, I just thought it was put like chills on your back. You think, well, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? It was brilliant.
And you quite rightly received a lot of acclaim for your performance. Was it one of the best ones of the season for you personally?
It was one of the better ones, yeah. I mean, when there's so many people there, I think if you have a good game, it's magnified because of the importance of the game. But yeah, I thought I played okay and I enjoyed it, yeah.
What was your view of the penalty?
And friends who watched it at home said they want a penalty. I remember I got caught, and I've won a few penalties this year, you know. So I went down and it was a penalty. He did catch me, so I suppose well, when the fourth official put 6 minutes up, I couldn't believe it. At first I thought he put a 9 up, and it was the longest 6 minutes ever, and it was tense, and there were a few little scrambles, although our defence defended brilliantly, and they never really got behind us, but it was just long and tense, and the relief more than anything at the final whistle.
And was it as tired as it looked out there? Does Wembley sap the energy more than most grounds?
Yeah, it does. I don't know why. I think you tend to just do a bit more because of the occasion takes hold of you a bit, and your adrenaline's running, and you're running all over the place, you know, and it is a big pitch as well, so it is sapping, yeah.
But the town fans that were there, they were outnumbered 2-1 by Northampton. They really got behind you. Could you sense that on the pitch?
Oh yeah, they really got behind us. It was a great help in us winning the game. And some credit's got to go to them to a certain extent because of the noise they made. And if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't have been the occasion it was. If it was, say we'd only took a few thousand and they had, the importance of the game.
Wembley appearance in the space of 5 weeks, was it just as special the second time round for you?
Well, it was in a sense, but I mean the occasion was totally different, Tim. You're talking about the culmination of 48 sort of league games, aren't you? We've had 46 in the league, 2 playoff semi-finals as such. To get to Wembley and the whole season's work then depends on one game. Plus it's not just that, but to be successful in that one game means a hell of a lot of money for the club, a lot of prestige for the club, a lot of big games next season because we're back in the first division. So really it can cut the atmosphere and really cut the tension with a knife. It's not like the family day out, enjoyable day that one would wish to have had 5 weeks ago. It was a fantastic day. No manager can be as proud as I was to walk round Wembley Stadium as a Wembley winner, back in having helped take the club into the First Division. It's just fantastic.
It finished 1-0, of course, but really, someone who wasn't at the game might have thought it was a tight game, when really you might have had more goals to show for your clever play.
I think we know, they did things exactly as we would have expected. I think AD did as much as anybody to win the game, because within the first 5 minutes he came and took two of their dangerous crosses, and the looks of puzzlement on their lads' faces was there for all to see, because they thought that would be a major threat for them, and our goalkeeper handled every situation magnificently. Having said all that, it's nice to go in at half time 1-0 up. We didn't play as well in the second half, we weren't in so much control, but we created 3 or 4 marvellous chances, including the penalty, to have wrapped the game up and make the last few minutes more comfortable than they were.
It is all, of course, about a team game, but several of your individual players took it upon themselves to put in excellent performances at Wembley.
Yeah, I mean, it must be remembered, in the last few minutes, Tim, I was trying to stress to the lads, just get their basic, it's a horrible word, it's a coaching word, get their basic 4-4-2, because that has carried us through admirably right through the season. It was important we kept our shape and let that take care of itself, because every one of those players know the jobs inside out. It was important they stuck to the jobs.
Boys and girls, we voted with the Area Heroes. It's just a manager John Cockrell. He's down on the man. You can take your life. Come in from the man. we've just won